Happy Monday. You see, I'm struggling on a Monday. There I am. Let's see. Yep, I'm looking a little pixelated, but I'm okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Shout out to Adrian Nash for joining us. About to get started. Sorry I was having technical difficulties on Sunday, but some problems, having power problems on my block and some other issues, but we'll see. We'll get started shortly. Do our Sunday routine. I'll go over the videos I did last week while people following it. Shout out to Citizen Lou. How's it AWS? I just got through studying for my practitioner, so I'm hoping to probably take it in 2 weeks. Then I'm gonna flow up into that associate architect like you. AWS got too many services, Citizen Lou. That's all I'm saying. They got too many services. Let me share my screen. I'm looking at my thumbnails like people can see them. So yeah, so hopefully your studying is going well, Citizen Lou. Like I said, I'll be getting 90s on my little practice test. So I'm feeling a little confident for a minute. So that's it. So let's go over the videos we went last week while people falling in. But yeah, I'm starting to get a little more comfortable on that AWS. So after a couple more of these, we get back to the AWS stuff. You right there. I am. Thanks to this, Lou. But you know, the practice test sometimes ain't like the real one. Amazon's got a AWS practice exam for free and some tutorials. So I've been going through that. So Zelle saying no refund. I think all the payment apps are saying no refund. So if you let somebody take over your phone or your computer and you get hacked, the bank saying it's not their fault. They should not have to refund your money because you don't know anything about cybersecurity. Especially if you get phished, right? You get phished and you click on something and they take over your phone. Or a lot of people call with the spoof phone number saying this is Chase Bank, Bank of America, and you let that spoof number take over your phone, and they Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle them your money because you let them take over the phone. The bank saying they did not get hacked. You gave them authorization to move that money, though, even though you did give them authorizations, right? So some of the banks are trying to start pushing back because old people are getting taken advantage of. They losing a ton of money every year, especially if you sum all the payment apps together. It's probably I know at least $500 million getting stolen every year, right? On those payment apps, especially with the spoof numbers. The number said Chase Bank, right? Then they let them take over. Did you talk about Biden admin changing cyber incident protocol? I have not talked about that, Brother Michael. I did a video on that probably a year ago, but they've been trying to get everybody to all the business to start reporting when you've been hacked, and they've been trying to do that for years. Actually, Department of Homeland Security tried to do that 10 years ago. Financial abuse of the area is quite serious. You are correct, Adrian Nash, and I think the cybersecurity community should go to old folks' homes and help them and kind of give tutorials on that. So you are correct. Shout out to my mom. She passed away. I was always helping her with her tech stuff. She would never do anything. She always tell him, call my son. That's my mom. I just tell her, have him call me. That was call my son. So shout out to that. So AWS Lambda malware detective. If you Google that, the first malware was designed specifically for AWS Lambda was detected by a couple firms. So they said they're specifically targeting AWS, which they're the 800-pound gorilla. They have the most subscribers or customers in there, right? They're killing that. So AWS and Azure is controlling the majority of their market. So they're going to have malware, viruses, and everything targeted for those. So, and I did a 3-tier old school video on how I used to set up 3-tier architectures in probably 2010 to 205. So I set one up on AWS. So it was pretty interesting. It worked pretty well. I set up Apache Tomcat. I connected it to a Oracle free tier. Nobody's really doing Oracle anymore, so I think I'm gonna switch for my next video to the Aurora Postgres model. And I'm actually going to use Beanstalk and let it set all that up for you programmatically. I did it out manual. So see how AWS set it up when you set up Beanstalk, which will set up your 2 tiers for you automatically. Then you just have to attach your app tier to a database of your choice, which was pretty easy in AWS. So we're going to go over the digital forensics. It's short. Just kind of touching on that. Once again, I want to touch on another domain inside cybersecurity. A lot of people are not hip to the digital forensics side. Once you get hacked, where do they steal it? How do they steal it? And where is it going to go, right? So we're just going to touch on this. For people who really don't know, I taught college for 10 years. I actually just stopped. So I probably do a video on why I stopped. So I used to teach introduction to computer science, forensics, advanced forensics, and they had this kind of cyber law they were thinking about doing, so I was going to teach that. So long story short, I have a bachelor's in computer science and an MBA, and I had a Security Plus certification. I think I let it lapse. I didn't do my continuing ed. Of course, it was on the 501, and I'm going to start studying for the 601 later. So, but let's hit these slides. Once again, if you got any what's up, Ty? If y'all got any cybersecurity questions, put them in the box and we can pivot. Yes, Michael. I do federal work, so that reporting protocol, that they were already doing that. I think Biden's trying to push that down to large Fortune 500 companies and mid-sized businesses. The reason he's pushing that instant report protocol, if there's a nation state trying to take out the financial system, and they don't report to the government, it might take a while for the government to figure out we're getting nation states trying to take out the financial system. Same things with oil companies. Oil companies are privately owned company. They do have government oversight. So the government oversight wants the company to report to them. So if it's a lot of oil companies or refineries, they can figure out that it's a nation state trying to take them out. So that's why they're trying to do that, Brother Michael. Once again, I used to report for DOD, Department of Homeland Security. Any government agency has to report up to Homeland Security. And now a lot of states have report, but they want you to report up that way. If it's hitting a lot of states, they can figure out very quickly that that's just a nation state. If it's a certain type of virus hitting, like Department of Revenues or BMVs in different states, if it's a certain type of virus, if they report, they can figure it out. Okay, we got calls from 5 different states. That looks kind of fishy. So that's why they're trying to get that reporting together, Brother Michael. Like so, they've been trying to do that for a while. Once again, I work for some federal clients. That reporting structure, like I said, we practice that. I think I'm gonna do a video on that. We do an incident response exercises, like you've been hacked, and so what does that look like? Then part of the exercise is who you should report to or not report to. What's up, casual economist? Adrian Nash in the house. We gotta protect the elderly. My man Ty in the house and casual economist. So let's hit these slides. Like I said, I try to do it on Sunday. I was having power problems and technical difficulties for some reason, but it's all good. We seem to be working now. So we're gonna talk about a few tools, explain about them. Evaluating digital tools. We always consider open source tools the best value for many features. Question to ask: on which OS does the forensic tool run? Shout out to Keep It Techie. I'm usually a Linux guy. Even if I'm running Windows, I'm I'm gonna run a virtual machine on a Linux laptop, preferably a Mac. That's what all my guys run on that I know in the industry. They have a Mac and they have it VM to death. So they have Windows 90, Windows 10, Windows different versions, SQL Server, Windows Operate 2019, 2017. So they just have it VM to death and just run a ton of VMs on their Macs. Is the tool versatile? Can the tool analyze more than one file system? Can a scripting languages be used? Does it have an automated feature? That's what it is. A lot of times, guys going to use Linux, and usually, if we use Linux, of course, we're going to script. Does it have automatic features? What is the vendor's reputation for providing a product? So, especially when you're doing government work, they want you to use a reputable vendor. And on top of that, they want you to use a known vendor that they have security checks for, right? So that's pretty standard. Hardware forensics tool range from the simple single purpose component to complete computer systems and servers. Software forensic tool, of course, we really want you to be command line and GUI apps. We prefer command lines. Once again, you're going to try to script it. But sometimes you might need to look at 1,000 virtual machines, 1,000 EC2s, 1,000 Red Hats, right? You're looking for a certain TPT or threat actor or how it's moving. It's called MITRE ATT&CK. If you're not familiar with MITRE ATT&CK, if you go to the MITRE website, it has patterns on how certain nation states attack you or certain hacks. So it shows you the pattern of that hack. So if you use intrusion detection or intrusion prevention, it'll notify you if it sees the in the logs that type of a hack going in your logs, meaning it went to Active Directory, it tried to take a token, it tried to take that token and log in. All that stuff will be in your logs, right? So if you have a guard duty inside AWS, it'll figure out that attack vector and warn you, right? But that's why you got to pay for it, right? Following guidelines of NIST computer forensics tools. NIST is a federal agency that handles a lot of standards. ISO 2737 states digital evidence first responders should use validated tools. 5 major categories: acquisition, validation and verification, extraction, reconstruction, and reporting, right? So that 27037 means the government looked at these tools and they believed those were appropriate to do that type of work, basically forensics, right? Once again, most of the red team, they do forensics as part of their attack and part of their services. All right. So if you hire one of the big guys, when they come out and look at if you've been hacked or how you've been hacked, the forensic part is who stole it, where it's stolen, and do they believe it's a nation state, right? It's like a fingerprint. Certain attacks are done by certain states. So the acquisition, make a copy of the original drive. Subfunction, physical data copy, logical data copy, acquisition of the format, command line acquisitions, GUI, remote live, and memory acquisitions, right? So part of that is when you get attacked, there's certain stuff in memory, there's certain stuff in your syslogs, there's certain stuff in your memory, especially when you do a secure file transfer to show you destination and source. It stays in memory for so long before it gets pushed out. So they're trying to get those memory dumps and stuff to kind of figure out what happened. Once again, if you were hacked from a forensic standpoint. Two types of data copies methods are used. You can physical copy the entire drive, do a logical copy of the disk partition, the formats of disk acquisitions, raw data to a vendor-specific proprietary format. You can view a raw image file content with any hexadecimal editor. Some of the attacks actually takes an image file. If you Google it, somebody stole a bunch of credit cards. They put it inside of a picture because there's always slack space or space that was deleted. So they try to hide it in a picture. Then, SFTP the picture out of the corporation. So if you look at that, that's an example of the hexadecimal that shows you the the picture over there, and then 2, it shows you the file size, DOS command, creation time, attributes, bytes per page, if it's Windows, right? So a lot of times you can look in there and you could be able to read SSNs, right? It says Samsung in there, but I've actually seen files where it had a SSN and data in the middle of it, right? So once again, just forensics, WinHex, looking at the hexadecimal file. Creating smaller segment files is typical, featuring a vendor acquisition tool. Remote acquisition of file is common in large organizations. Popular tools such as Access Data, in the cases, the 800-pound gorilla I see used a lot, and could do remote acquisition of forensics drive images on the network. So once again, if you were looking for a certain attack vector, you could script it up and go through all the logs on different files, certain disk on, and 2 on EC2. If they got 400 EC2s, you can script those up, especially if they're Linux, and just go through. And if you were looking for something in a certain log or certain disk pattern or a certain volume, once again, right, you would script that up. Validation is a way to confirm that the tool is functioning as intended. Verification proves that 2 sets of data are identical by calculating hash values of using another similar method. A related process is filtering, which is about sorting and searching through investigation files to separate good data and suspicious data. Right? A lot of times you're looking in emails for a certain thing, or you can export your email into a PST. You got to script it through if somebody was getting harassed or they were saying certain words in emails, right? If you have those PSTs, you can script those up in Unix and just go through all their emails and all their PST. And the FOIA, which is Freedom of Information Act, some of my government clients, they specifically have to save their emails, right? If they're in a certain C-suite position, they actually have to export those emails out and be saved, I think, for a decade, in case one of the taxpayers or one of the taxpayers' lawyers looking for certain communication for a certain person, right? So you got to keep those emails. Once again, that's cybersecurity. GRC, you need to know legally how long you have to retain certain information, be it for FERPA education, IRS Pub 1075, FISMA for DOD. Each one of those, HIPAA, GDPR, if you're in Cali, right? Each one of those have retention requirements of how long you're supposed to save data, right? That's the boring part of cybersecurity, right? But that's stuff you need to know, right? And I help advise people on that information, right? So when you hash, right, subfunction hash, CRC32, MD5, SHA-1. I usually use MD5. A lot of people say MD5 has been hacked. I know, I'm just using for hashing mean. I just hash both files and I can compare them. So when I do a copy, I'm just trying to figure out if anything has been changed, right? I'm not trying to secure it. If I'm gonna use encryption, right, I'm gonna use AES 256. Then I'll just encrypt it with a PGP. If it's on disk, right, then that's approved by the government. So based on hashing value set, analyze file headers, discriminate the files based on their types. The National Software Reference Library has compiled a list of known file hashes for a variety of OS, application, and images. So that's the website. I go to NIST a lot. NIST is National Institute of Standards and Technologies. They have special publication on everything from web service to app service to machine learning. So they have that experts look on it. So I usually try to read it and get a feeling for it. Let's see what my man James Tony said. After the company is hacked, is there a checklist that cyber team goes through? Yes, there's a I wish Gabe Bay was in there. Each forensic company, if you hire a Mandiant from an actual company, but yeah, us as a organization, we have a checklist we go through. James, so we go through our checklist, and if we think they've been hacked, then we're gonna pass it off to a SME expert. And usually, we're gonna hire a third-party company to come in to actually verify the hack. So for us, we say, okay, if we think we've been hacked, the logs look funny, or somebody saw something on their machine. So then we go through our checklist, we're going to take the server offline. We're going to interview the person. We're going to make a copy of everything on the drive. We're going to export the memory of it. So yeah, James, we do have a checklist even before we call out the experts. A lot of that checklist too is then two is part of the checklist is who do we need? The Department of Homeland Security, the state general attorney wants to know, depending on how many records are involved in that. So yes, James, we do have a checklist from an agency / company perspective, and each company has something a little different, right? Depending on what they're trying to accomplish in that, James. Because I've seen companies where they really don't want to notify anybody; they just want to stop the bleeding, James. So depending on what you're trying to accomplish as a company, but yeah, most company, especially most large companies have a checklist. We were talking about NIST. NIST has a policy says that you have to have an instant response plan and you have to practice every year and document your practice. Let's see, validation and discrimination. Many computer forensic programs includes a list of common header values. With this information, you can see whether the file extension is incorrect for the file. Most forensic tools can identify the header. Yeah, so this is a file header indicates it's a JPEG. So I've seen people change extensions of files to try to hide them. So you can take a Word document, change it to a JPEG, right? Then you could try to send it out as an image file. But most tools will know because there's usually a 2-digit code in there that tells you if it's a document, Excel, image, what type of image. So usually it could tell with this type of data and that image indicator on the offset, it can usually figure out what it should be, right? So doc cannot be opened because there's a problem with it. So that's usually what you get if you change the extension of a certain file, aka a Word document with JPEG, right? It'll be confused. But a lot of times they want you to be confused in that document so they can. So, yep, that is true, Caleb. Stenography is one that's very rarely used, but yep, people try to do that. And I think that was actually explained when we talked about it in week 2, but you are correct, Caleb. That is stenography. That's an old term. If I'm trying to steal some, I'll just encrypt it and try to slide it out with the rest of it. I wouldn't put it in the picture, but you are correct, Caleb. That is stenography. So this is a base shot of a picture. Opened it in Paint. So extraction, recovery tasks, and a digital investigation. Most challenging of our task is to master recovering data in the first step and analyzing and investigations data. Right? Because people are trying to hide it. What's up, Erica? Glad you can join. Yeah, so once again, when people trying to steal data or hide it, most time when people try to steal data now, they just encrypt it with different keys and just try to send it out. The reason it's hard is most people, when you encrypt files, they don't unencrypt it to try to view the file, right? To try to look at it. Even for viruses, a lot of times you just zip it up and you just send it, right? So that's why a lot of files get stolen. How you should be able to catch them though is certain files should go out at certain times of the day, right? Because usually when we send files to vendors or other association, usually they're on a timer and they go out a certain time of day. So if you see a big encrypted file leaving your organization at a weird time that you know that's not on your schedule, that's the ones you should capture and once again try to investigate the data, or you at least should have a key to unencrypt it if you send it out. Right? So what's the function of extraction? Data viewing, keyword searching, decompressing, uncompressing, carving, decrypting, bookmark or tagging. Key servers, key search words speeds up the analysis for investigation. Right? So if somebody's being hacked or harassed at work, they know what people said to them in the email. So you should be able to search for those particular keywords in the email, right? Using a word list to search. So that they got nucleic acid. That shows you all the documents with that in there. See search keywords, so you can try to find somebody's trying to steal a pharmaceutical compound or something. Or you looking at it in certain emails to try to figure out if somebody's communicating about a certain molecule or something. You can do that and bring up it out in email, right? So the beauty is you got those tools. The hard part is, do you got enough disk space and storage to make it easier to search for those terms and knowing where those documents are at, right? Because documents get spread all over now, right? You can do case sensitive, include folders, match certain words, file size for what you're looking for, right? So that'll help get you to a certain document in a certain time. Right, so that's part of the keyword search. Because a lot of times, harassment and what you would think people would know better, but that's a big issue. From an investigation perspective, encrypted files and systems are the problem. Many password recovery tools has features to generate password lists for a password dictionary attack. If a password dictionary attack fails, you can run a brute force attack. Right, so on a lot of times people are password protecting Word documents and other form of documents. So if they're password protected, you from a forensic perspective can't read them either, right? So that's what they were talking about. Sometimes you got to brute force an attack to get into a particular document. But most of the times, if they're on site and they doing something they shouldn't do. The SA can has root on a box, can read their account. Most of our supervisors can read their direct reports emails, and their supervisor can read their supervisor's email, right? So even the president can read his direct reports, right? So theoretically, you have ways to read people emails. So even if they're password protected, right, they have the right to read their emails. Especially when you're talking about encrypted emails, right? They have their underlings keys so they can read it. So, recreate a suspect drive shows what happened during the crime incidents. You can use disk to disk, partition to partition, image to disk, image to partition, disk to image, rebuilding files from data runs and carving. Right? Because you got to remember, if we're doing an investigation, we never do it on the original. We're gonna make a copy of it, right, while we work on it. So we'll make that happen. You can recreate an image of a suspect drive, copy images to another location, such as a partition, physical disk, or virtual machine. Simplest method is to use a tool that makes a direct disk to disk image copy. Example of disk to image is Linux DD command, Pro Disk, and Broom Technologies drive, right? So old school, we just use the D to D disk command. Reporting. To perform a forensic disk analysis examination, you need to create a report, sub-function reporting, bookmarking or tagging, logging reports, timelines. Use this information where producing a final report. So anything you do for a customer or client, right, you need a final report to see what that looks like and what that would do. I seen them. We look at them all the time. Who got hacked, when, where, what their final recommendation is. Do they believe they have enough information? What's up, game over, to fire the person? Because a lot of times you're doing internal investigation on employees, right? So if you find that they did something they want to do, you got to make sure you can fire them and have it not come back on you. A lot of states usually have right to work, but still people can sue if they believe they were wrongfully terminated. So we got to make sure we have the evidence for that, right? Other considerations is flexibility, reliability, future expandability. Is the company viable? Are they having new features? Because now, right, everything's in the cloud. Shout out to Amazon. They give you different ways to do forensic analysis on the EC2 instances that you control, stuff you can export out. They show you how to quarantine a EC2 instance that you were doing forensics. Look on it. So that's part of it. So create software library containing older versions of forensics utility, OS, and other programs. If you did some in the past and you need to go back to it, right? Sometimes you might need the older version. So we're going to about to explore the command line and GUI on both Windows and Linux. Once again, I'm a command line Linux person. That's my thing of choice. First, tools that analyze extracted data from floppy disks, which we don't use anymore. Hard drives, MS-DOS tools. Norton was big back then. I need to update my slides. Shout out to me. I need to update my slides. Command line tools require a few system resource design and run and minimal configurations. Too, you want to be able to go on site and be light and get into it. Shout out to She Stole My Thunder. I'll be in the clouds over there reading stories. What did I see? Someone found Bigfoot, McDonald's secret sauce. Just doing a little forensics. But shout out to her. Go check her out. She's growing her channel. Go support her. I was over there. She usually has some relaxing reading, relaxing music, relaxing time. I don't relax very much in my life. I'm trying to get it. But shout out to her. She's cool. Let's see. I enjoy cybersecurity, but man, it involves a lot of writing documentation. Oh, that is true, Tony. The cool thing for me is I cheat a lot. I've been doing insurance forever and policies and procedure forever. So I got templates for everything. When you got 30 years in the game, I just be pulling out templates, James. You got to get them templates down. So a lot of times I use templates for my stuff. And it's funny. I just delegate, especially when I was at DOD. They're so good about it. And most highly technical people don't write well. We actually had a tech writer. At first, James, I was like, we don't need no tech writer. I saw the stuff he was writing. James, I was like, I need a template of that. That dude's good. No, so when I work at very large organizations like I do now, we got a tech writer on staff, James, to handle that. So shout out to you. You need to get a tech writer. So I just give him the highlights and he smooths it out. So I give him my technical recommendations and he smooths it out on the template. So you are correct. It's I don't write as much as I used to. Like I said, we got a tech writer, and I use a ton of templates, James. I'd be cheating in the game. So Unix has been mostly replaced by Linux. You may still encounter a few Unix out there. Linux platform has become the most popular with homes and businesses. Smart is designed to be styled on Linux versions, can analyze a variety of systems with smart, many plugs and utilities and hex viewers. Helix is one of the easiest too. You can load it up on Windows. These are actually packages used for forensics, and everybody's familiar with Kali Linux. Shout out to Gabe. I probably me and him been thinking about taking some of the Kali modules and splitting them. Meaning he does one and I does one, and we go on each other's channel and just talk about it. I thought about doing Kali, but there's just so many modules in Kali, and like I said, I do more blue team assurance and architect stuff than I do Kali. Like I said, when I taught intro to computer security, we actually did about 3 or 4 weeks on Kali, Jack the Ripper, just basic stuff. Honeycomb, where you can catch people's cell phone information, text. A lot of times it's not encrypted. You can snatch it out the sky. So some of the big dogs. So we were thinking about maybe splitting some of the Linux modules and just do them on each channel. Templates that save me. I don't have large allowed one. Yeah, I got them for cybersecurity. So I got them for policies and procedure, incident response. If you go out to NIST, they have a ton of templates. That's the gem I'm throwing out today. If you're looking for a template for something, NIST probably has. They have them for system security plans. I've done it from incident response plans. So yeah, they got a ton of templates out there. NIST 800 special publication, depending on what you're looking for. Once again, they have a ton of templates out there. That's the gem I'm throwing down for today. That's the gem. Get them templates from NIST. So, I'll probably do a video and go out there and look at some of the top templates I think you should use. I'm gonna write that down. Shout out to James. I'm gonna do a video on that. Find where the top templates at. So autopsy and sleuth or forensic tools. Browser interface used to access slots tools. Explain how to use the tools. Force point threat protection, formerly known as second look. A Linux memory analyst tool can be performed both on-site and remote memory acquisition. Because you got to remember, if you're on a laptop battery or somehow the power got cut, one of the things you're going to lose if the power goes off is memory. So a lot of times you want to get that exported down to a file or so you can have it. So in memory, a lot of times it shows you what programs are on there. It'll show you if you got malware on there. A lot of times, if they're not very sophisticated, it'll show you the malware name inside memory that we're running. So that's why you want to get that memory out of there. GUI forensics tools can simplify digital forensics, also simplify training for beginners. Most of them are put together as a suite of tools, ease of use, multitasking, no need to learn older versions. Disadvantage is this one: excessive resource requirements, produce inconsistent results, create tool dependencies. Investigators may only want to use one tool, right? So yeah, when I was programming, I was doing Linux. The old guy I'm having on my channel is you couldn't use a GUI because it's like, dude, we could be somewhere where the GUI won't install. Sometimes you got to get on the operating system to install your tools. So he always wanted us to do Linux command line. So my first couple months was hard, but once you do it after a couple months, you can do Linux command line because really you only need about 10 commands, right? If you're doing Linux command line, especially from a programming standpoint. All right, so VI file, copy a file, type in VI, save it, write it, delete it, CD, make a directory. So you probably only really like 10 or 20 commands to be proficient in Linux, right? So and this is it. Technology changes rapidly. Hardware eventually fails. Schedule equipment replacement. When planning your budget, consider the amount of time you expect for the forensic workstations to be running. Failures, consulting vendor fees, and anticipate equipment replacement. But that's any IT budget, right? Hardware doesn't last forever. After 4 or 5 years, it's going to fail. So you need to get new equipment before it fails, and always have backup on your disk. The cool thing now is that most people are in the cloud. You just spin up another EC2 instance, and Amazon's going to take care of that tech refresh for you. So that's why everybody's in that cloud and loving it. So and even from a forensic perspective, once again, Amazon gives you tools and stuff to help you do it. Uh, from a workstation, consider what you need: stationary, portable, lightweight. Balance what you need and what your systems can handle. Remember that RAM and storage need updating as technology advances. Police agency labs need many options, uses several PC configurations. Keep hardware library in addition to your software. Private corporation labs handle only system types used in the organization. Right, even most police labs are behind the time, right? Because technology changes so quickly, right? They try to use their local FBI office to help them do that. It's glad my reparation all that thing. Yeah. Shout out to Adrian, she's back home. um, so let's see. Building a forensic workstation is not as difficult as it sounds. Customize your needs, save money. Hard to find support for problems can become expensive as you need to identify what you intend to analyze. You can actually order one for a basic one and hit that. And most people who is ordering a forensic workstation, they actually work for a forensic company or a big consulting company. That's going to help them do that, right? Little people, and I work for a big agency. We don't even do that, right? We outsource that talent because that's specific talent. So I do it from a high level just to figure out if something looks funny. Then once again, we're gonna outsource that to one of the big guys, right? Some vendors offer workstation design for digital forensics. Fred is a unit from digital intelligence, hardware mounts from forensic PC. Having vendor support can save you time and frustration. You can mix and match components to get capabilities you need for your forensic workstation. Once again, 9 times out of 10, you're going to work for a forensic company to actually do that, right? Like I said, I work at very large clients, and we don't really have a lot of that. We don't have really, we don't have a lot of that talent on staff. Once again, we're going to outsource that to a consulting company. Write blockers prevent data from writes to a hard drive. Software engineering blockers typically run in the shell mode, Windows CLI, command line interface. PDB blocks, hardware options ideal for GUI forensics, acts as a bridge between the suspect drive and the forensic search workstation. So once you copy a drive, you're just going to make sure you don't write on the original hard drive and mess it up, right? So that's why you put the write block on the hard drive. of the original, because you never want to really do any analysis of it in case you erase, right? You make a copy, then you make a hash of the copy to make sure it's valid and it actually matches the original, right? So you can navigate to the block drive within the application, discards the written data from the OS data copy to successful, connecting technologies, FireWire, USB 2.0 and 3.0. Then you get SCSI controllers, right? Of course, those are old. Those have been upgraded. What up, Peter Investor? Glad you can join us. Just touching on a little forensics. Once again, a different domain in cybersecurity. I like to talk about a few, different things. Determine where the data acquisition will take place. Very large companies want the data acquisition to take place in their corporation. Right? When you start rolling out, especially you start taking servers off premises from very large companies that have compliance regulatory regulations, they do not like that. They want you to do all that data acquisition, data manipulation, data investigation. They want you to do really on-prem in their location. Because they usually have separate rooms for techs and working, so they really want you to do it there. So if you want to reduce hardware to carry, for instance, drive docks with FireWire bring to it. When to choose a stationary versus lightweight workstation. Fluid tower allow for expansion drives, as much memory and processing power you can afford. Different size of hardware, 400 watt of buried power supply for battery backup. External FireWire and USB ports, assortment of drive adapters. Because remember, when you're going on site and you're doing investigation, right? You could be dealing with a lot of different drives, a lot of different computers, a lot of different makeups of servers and stuff, right? So a lot of times that's one reason they want you to be in the cloud. You can quarantine it until you don't have to worry about power in the cloud, right? So that's one reason people are enjoying the cloud better, right? You get ergonomic keyboard and mouse, good video with 17-inch monitors, high-end video cards, dual monitors. If you have a limited budget, one option is outfitting your lab is to use a high-end game PC, right? This game PCs has a ton of power, and you're gonna make that happen. So it's important to make sure that evidence you recover and analyze can be admitted in court. Right, I'm gonna say that again. It's important to make sure that evidence you recover and analyze can be submitted in court. You must test and validate your software to prevent damaging of the evidence. NIST published articles providing tools and create procedures for testing validated forensic software. Computer forensic tool testing project. NIST has created a criteria for testing tools based on standard testing in iOS 10.025 criteria for testing items that have no current standards, right? So you want to test these tools and make sure what you're taking, if you wanted to go to court, that evidence could stand up in court, right? I've never seen anybody prosecuted in real life. I've read stories. They just caught the teenagers, I think in Russia, that was in charge of one of the big hacking groups. I think they got charged. But on-prem, especially for businesses, I've never seen it. So you want to establish categories for your tools, identify your category requirements, develop and test assortment, identify test cases, establish the test method, report your test results. ISO 5725 specified results must be repeatable and reproducible, right? Because when you're court, they're going to say, okay, how did you get it? How do you know it's valid? How did you know that this was really this person's IP address? Was the IP spoofed? Right? Did you really get it from their phone? Was the phone triangulation also validating that the person was in that area that you believe the IP address came from? Right? So all that lines up if you want to take them to court. I got too many jobs now. I'm tired. Night, family. Good night. I'm with you, Erica. I got too many stuff. I just became a digital CISO for a pharmaceutical company with a friend of mine. So I feel you, Erica. Get that rest. Get that rest. I feel you. I'm right behind you. Thanks for joining me. NIST created a national software reference again, collects all known hash values, Use SHA-1 to generate known set of digital signatures called reference data sets. Helps filter known information. Can use RDS to locate and identify known bad files. Once again, you're hashing to make sure the data matches your original when you actually do it. Shout out to Go to French class. Go to She Stole My Thunder. I appreciate that, Eric. To collect all known entities. I'll always verify your results by performing the same tasks and other similar forensics. You release tools, retrieving examination and verification. Understand how your forensic tools work. One way to compare results to the verified new tool is by using a disk editor, Hex Workshop, or Hex Win. This editor does not have a flashy interface or reliable tools, can access raw data, digital forensic examination protocols, perform investigation with the GUI tool, verify your results with the disk editor, compare your hash value with both tools, right? So that's it. So we'll keep rolling. Upgrade your protocol, test new releases and OS patches and upgrade. If you find a problem, report it back to forensic tool vendor. Do not use forensic tool until the problem has been fixed. Use test hard disk for validation of a purpose. Check the web for new editors, update patches, and validation of your tools. That's what anything you're doing, try to get the most update patches and validation tool. And part of that is the security patches of those when you use those forensic tools, right? We got to make sure we're using it, right? So once again, it was something short. I just was talking about some forensic tools, something a lot of people don't talk about. Once again, my man Gabe A is in that arena. Let me find. So I'll drop the link. So that's it. Let me read through the. Thank you. Yep. See you Sunday. I had a technical difficulty Sunday. We'll be back. I think we got 2 more forensics, and we're gonna get back on AWS. Let's see. I got 2 jobs, too tired, broke, but also things you do until you win the lottery. Skills, knowledge, experience on the big bucks. That's true. Go check out Women in Linux. Now it sounds like somebody food. Working on my French there. Shout out to Peter. I teach food, no problem. I appreciate that, Peter, for the super chat. I'm always going to share food. Yeah, I need to go on a diet. That's why I need to. I appreciate it, Peter. Shout out to Peter for the 250 super chat. Let's see. I'll drop the link if you want to come up. Once again, he was talking about President Biden's incident response. That's actually been out for really 10 years for that. They really just want companies to report to the Department of Homeland Security so they can figure out if it's a nation state. It's attacking a certain industry, right? If 3 or 4 gas pipelines were getting hit like Colonial, right? You know that's a nation state. If electric companies, smart grids are all getting hit at the same time, especially now that we kind of in this. We're not in a war, but I think we're being in some cyber wars in the back end, right? What does that look like in real life, and how do you handle it? So I think the government just is trying to get their reporting up. We all believe there's just going to be some kind of attack on the United States critical infrastructure, probably in this war. Probably electric grid gets taken down for a little while. Good thing is the United States is on high alert. All the big agencies on high alert. All the industries are locking down particular computer systems even more. Government agencies are coming out and doing assurance and auditing of bigger companies on those particular cyber things. So hopefully they don't have anything glaring standing out. So I think the United States is getting prepared. I would have a little extra food, a little extra, some candles, maybe a little firewood. It's about to be summer now, though. Some flashlights, some lamps, some soup, some stuff you can cook without a microwave, right? Some stuff you can eat. The crazy thing is, storms. The hottest seller is Pop Tarts. You don't need to refrigerate them. Kids eat them, and there's a gazillion flavors. That's all I got. I want to shout out to everybody for joining me. Sorry about Sunday. I had technical difficulties. We'll be back on. I think we got 2 more cyber classes. Then we're going to switch back to Amazon. I'm studying for one of the exams, so it's going pretty well. Shout out to Citizen Lou. I know he's studying for those tests too. And if you were trying to get in cybersecurity, everybody's going to cloud. So I think you need to master one of those clouds. AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, Salesforce is good. So there's probably 6 or 7 clouds. The 2, shout out. I didn't say they were good for you, Adrian. There's just something you can survive on if you can eat. Shout out to that. She is correct. It's processed sugar. It's definitely not good for you. So just shout out to that. That's it. So let me take myself to sleep because I get to work home for tomorrow though. I get to work from home on Tuesday. Shout out to me. So I'll be working from home tomorrow, working on some content and getting caught back up. Once again, I'll hang out. If anybody got any more cybersecurity questions, then I'm going to bed. 2 is, if you look at my channel, I got a playlist on Amazon Practitioner. I got a playlist on Introduction to Cybersecurity for the Security Plus. It's for the 501, though. I need to upgrade it to the 601. A lot of people have been asking me about Zero Trust. I have 3 videos on that. I'm probably going to do 4 more videos on Zero Trust. I think that's hot. The government actually pushing Zero Trust. It's a framework for cybersecurity, and there's a gazillion ways to do it, and there's the product everybody's recommending. So once again, I've been practicing on AWS, so I'll probably do a Zero Trust cloud implementation, what that would look like from AWS perspective. And the first one I'll do will be kind of open source, super cheap, small company. So using EC2, 3-tier, Linux firewalls, IP tables on top of security groups, what that and knuckles from a network. And so what that would look like from a Zero Trust perspective, web tier, app tier in a database, and what would pass federal audit. Once again, I'm out. Thanks for everybody for joining me. I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you out here on these YouTube streets, Professor Black Ops.